Let's face it, there is so much advice and so many stories that include money myths that simply aren't true and that keep us broke. And what's funny is that most people simply don't know what to believe and what they should ignore. So, today in Money Myths That Keep You Broke, I'm going to share the most common myths that keep us stuck and make securing a financial future difficult, if not impossible. If you want insider secrets to propel you forward and live, as we say, the American dream, you're going to love today's episode. So, stay tuned. Hi, my name is Annette Bau, your host of the Wealth Inside and Out podcast. I'm a certified financial planner and founder of the Millionaire Insider. For over 30 years, I have been advising and researching the top 1% of millionaires, and I am passionately obsessed with money, mindset, and the intersection of self-worth and net worth, and how the two connect and allow us to live fulfilled and wealthy lives on our terms. I'm a Midwestern girl who had a dream, began investing $25 a month 35 years ago, and today have a multi-million-dollar net worth. I teach the tried and true that only someone with over 3 decades of experience advising millionaires would know. This podcast is different about much more than money. We talk about mindset, success, money blocks, worth barometer, and all aspects of money and topics from practical manifestation, along with real-world how-to and everything in between, with the goal of making your journey easier and more fun. Think of this as coffee, actually matcha tea, learning real-world common sense money and life advice from a BFF that you can start applying today. If you want to create a financially free life you love, you are in the right place, my friend. This is the Wealth Inside and Out podcast. So we're diving into money myths that keep you broke. And in this, you're going to learn the goal and why an emotional goal is such a problem, why setting long-term financial goals is so important, how money impacts us, why talking about money and creating a plan is so critical, and the importance of getting good financial advice from someone who is qualified. Today's free resource is our money mindset guide. You can go to themillionaireinsider.com/MMG. I share 35 years of insight on how to master your money and mindset so you can begin your retirement savings plan. You're going to love this free resource. You're going to learn what fulfilled and wealthy people do differently to secure a financial future they love. And again, you can go to themillionaireinsider.com/MMG. As I mentioned, this resource is comprised of over 3 decades of research and insight on money mindset mastery, and you're going to love it. So again, themillionaireinsider.com/MMG. For today's show notes, you can go to themillionaireinsider.com/25. So the first one is that money doesn't bring you happiness. Now, that is clearly true. No emotion is going to really work, right? Because sometimes we're happy, sometimes we're not. But neither does poverty. So whenever somebody says money doesn't bring me happiness, I'm like, as if poverty does. And what I will say about having lived with money and without money is, oh my gosh, living with money is so much better because most of your problems can be solved with money. And so it's really not even a problem. But as I mentioned, life is 50-50 from a standpoint of emotion. Sometimes you're going to be happy, sometimes you're going to be sad. Now, the more you take care of yourself, the more you eat better, there's certain things you can do that can increase your emotions, right? But a lot of the things that happen that normally would be a problem if you have money, they're not. So just be aware of that. But the ultimate goal is to live a fulfilled and wealthy life. 2, money will change me. Money actually is going to bring out more of who you are. So if you're a loving, kind person or you're a royal jerk, yeah, you're going to have more of that. But in 35 years of advising some of the wealthiest people in the world and 40 years of researching them, I will just say this over and over again. It just brings out more of who you are. And one of the things that I find, and thankfully I learned early in my life, is that with more wealth comes more responsibility. I think whenever you're gifted in an area, it's important to understand that with that comes responsibility. And I think that from a standpoint of money, my job is to be a really good steward of the money that I have attracted and accumulated and created. And with anything, with any type of success in life comes great responsibility. You can apply that in any area of your life. I don't care what area of a success it is. It might be as a mom, but whatever it is, whatever you've got success at comes responsibility. And when we get that, everything becomes a lot easier. Money doesn't matter. No, I always laugh. I'm sorry that this is so funny. It's like that's true if you live in like an uninhabited island or in like some country where there's no money. But let's ask the child who couldn't go on the field trip to California. True story. Parents couldn't afford it, so all of us pitched in so he could go. Or the cancer patient who needs expensive experimental drugs and can't afford them. Or your child who gets into the dream school, but because you don't have enough money, they can't go. I mean, I remember when my older son wanted to go to Stanford. And I'm like, I think he could probably get in. He actually went to a school, a poor school. I mean, I thought he was going to go to like a preparatory academy because he went to a preparatory school in middle school. He was 2 years ahead, very smart. And I'm like, oh, he's going to go on to this prestigious boys' school. No, he's going to go on to this school that has a really good baseball team. And I'm like, what? And what was really interesting was, he's like, I want to go to Stanford. And it was ironic because one of our friend's daughter is in Stanford and her father went to Stanford. And they said one of the things Stanford does is they select like kids, like one child from school. And so I said, well, gosh, Nick could probably get in because no one at this school could afford Stanford and he's got the grades. But it was funny, he ended up not wanting to do that. But it was so nice to know that he had that option and that if he chose that, we could afford it. That's what I'm talking about. And maybe it's not your child, maybe it's your grandchild. Number 4, more money will solve my challenge. Now, on the surface, that seems true. And it is true that some issues money will solve. But what gets you into the broke group is an inner game issue. It's not a money issue. And it's really a worth barometer issue. More money is not going to solve this issue. You got to, first of all, create your formula, which includes a solid foundation, winning strategy, and then a consistent execution. And then you've got to integrate all of them. And that's where you got to start. But if you don't create a winning formula and you get more money, you're just going to exasperate the issue. And I mean, I know of probably 12 different cases, thank goodness none of them were my clients, but 12 different cases where the people sold their company or inherited money over 9 figures, over $100 million. And in each one of these cases, they ended up broke within 3 to 5 years. And just look at lottery winners. 95% are bankrupt within 5 years. It's because money is not going to solve the problem. We've got to work, first of all, on our inner game, and then we can dive into it. And the whole reason we created the Wealth Academy is so that if you don't have all cylinders working, meaning your money mindset, your success mindset, it starts with your success mindset, and then it's your money mindset, and then it's your spending, and then it's your earnings. That's the foundation. You got to have that before you're ever going to achieve any financial goal. So if you need more insight or you want more insight, you can go to themillionaireinsider.com/TWA. Number 5, I can save later. Maybe, maybe not. What if you become disabled or get divorced or your partner dies or you have major medical expense or an unexpected expense? The best time to start saving is yesterday, and the second best is today. So don't delay. My partner or spouse handles the money. Now, if you've been listening to me, oh my God, this is like running fingernails down a chalkboard. It's like, seriously? What happens if your spouse isn't here to take care of your money? Now, I share the story of the woman and her husband who had about 85 million until her husband died and the family CPA of years took over. And she found out when the alma mater called saying your $2 million check bounced that he had basically stolen $80 million. Ooh, cringeworthy. I was just talking to one of my friends and her mother-in-law, same thing. It was their advisor of years, and I think it was their accountant of years was stealing money from her, stole over $1 million. So those are the things, problems and things that happen when you don't know what's going on. Now, Equally concerning to hearing that your partner or spouse handles the money is when somebody says, I don't do numbers. I mean, at some point, you're going to have to do numbers. And what I find is you either start doing it when you can and you have a choice, or you're forced into it. And a lot of people don't think about that. But there was a woman in one of my classes, delightful woman, and her husband had said, don't worry about anything. Everything's taken care of. And he died. The estate went through probate. And a year later, in the back of her closet, she found this neat little shoebox that he had everything in it: life insurance policies, stock certificates, cash, bonds. She actually had to open up a probate and do it again. It like tripled the legal fees. It was a nightmare. And the other thing she shared is that she didn't even have a good credit score because she never had accounts in her own name. It was a nightmare and it could have been avoided. So don't let that be you. Oh, this is one. 7, I'm too old. Now, this is what's interesting that always is fascinating to me is I hear, oh, I'm too young, or I don't need to, I'm too young, or I'm too old. The best time to save, as I mentioned, is yesterday. The next best time is today. Living in a trailer or mobile wide isn't fun unless that's been like your lifelong dream. Being a greeter or a parking attendant isn't fun either unless that's your life ambition. You know, what happens if your child experiences a job loss or interest rates drop or the stock market declines? You got to have a plan and you got to start regardless of how old you are. The sooner you start, the better. All right, number 8, I deserve to spend my money. This is amazing. I was a spokesperson for the local financial planning association for 1 year. And so whenever news stations had questions, they would always call me and ask me. And one scenario, they had me go into 2 different families who were spending beyond their means and were out of control. One was they both were in the process of losing their home. And I'll never forget it. One of the people was this really well-dressed, professional, educated, articulate woman. And she shared that the primary reason for her overspending was because she worked hard and deserved it. I can remember the anchor and I, who became friends, and we were looking at each other like trying not to laugh, like, who doesn't work hard, right? I mean, she's like crying out loud, I am working from morning until night. And I'm like, yeah, amen. And it was just crazy. But my question was, can't you balance it? Can't you enjoy yourself now and still save? She refused to cook. She didn't have the time. And she felt like eating out was cheaper. The anchor shared that she would do meal prep. She would go to Costco and get a huge piece of salmon, cook it up, and then she would have salmon, cottage cheese, and a salad. And she would rotate the different meals that she had prepped. And the woman was literally on the verge of financial collapse, but she just continued to have excuse after excuse after excuse. It was terrible. And her affirmations and habits were so ingrained. I can't tell you how many times she repeated them because she was just so hardwired. But it was unfortunate, and I'm not sure what happened. The other family ended up having to move out of their home and move back to California to live with his parents. Not ideal. Let me say one more thing about this number 8 before we go on. The other family, interesting enough, I'm like, now, do you like buy coffees? No. And then I'm like, well, what is this dollar charge? Oh, that's just a Slurpee at Circle K. So at the time, it was like $1 per Slurpee. I'm like, you're spending $4 a day. That's 4 times 30, 120 a month times 12 is what, like 1440 a year? They're like, wow, we never thought of that. It was only $1. See, that's what gets people a lot of times into trouble. It's not the major things that you save up for. It's those little things that you spend too much money on. And what I find is people say, well, I want to have my coffee every day. Well, do you have to go and get a $7 coffee? I mean, I share the story that 2 of our friends that are attorneys, they were each having 2 specialty coffee drinks a day. They were spending $7 each, like 6 or 7 each, plus the tip. So it was like 14 times 2, so like 28. 28 times what, 30? That's like 30 times 30 is like 900 a month. It was crazy. 900 times 12 is over $10,000 a year. And I think we calculated they were doing about 8,000 because they weren't doing it every day, but it's crazy. They couldn't believe it. All right, 9, I can't save. Now, This one is almost as if we are born with a DNA to save or not. Now, what I have seen over and over again in my life is that savings is a habit that we create, and we can change our neural pathways so anyone can create that habit by rewiring their neural pathways. It takes 18 to 254 days, on average, 66 days to change a habit. So, what I encourage you to do, if this is you and you think you can't save, I want you to make one commitment right now. You're going to research savings accounts and set up your emergency reserve and just start funding it. If you have student loans or debt, create a plan to pay them off. And when credit cards offer you some big incentive to sign up, don't. All right, that's what I want you to do. And then once you start doing that, then you can start investing some money. But that's a critical first step. Okay, 10. I am too busy. Oh my God, this one is so funny. Like, seriously? Now, the funny thing about being too busy or unorganized or exhausted or overworked or stressed is multiply that by 100, and that's how you're going to feel when you are retired and broke. And I can guarantee that because it's not just a busyness, it is an exhaustive energy. When we don't make planning a priority and we just wait and see what happens, rarely is it good. What ends up happening is you're either going to be broke or you're going to be married to someone that you don't want to be married to. It's not fun. Now, if you're wired for always being too busy, never finding the time, then hire somebody who can hold you accountable. That is a critical first step, and you'll be so glad you did. All right, so let's overview. All right, number one, money doesn't bring you happiness. 2, money will change me. 3, money doesn't matter. 4, more money is going to solve my challenge. 5, I can save later. I don't need to do it now. 6, my partner or spouse handles the money, or I don't do numbers. 7, I'm too old or too young, or maybe too dark or too light, whatever the excuse. It's just an excuse. 8, I deserve to spend my money. 9, I can't save. It's not in my DNA. 10, I'm too busy. Now, I encourage you to go through those and identify the top 3 that you believe are issues you have. Like, I'd say right away, I'm too busy. You want to compare notes on busy? So go through and identify the ones that are applicable to you and then prioritize them and just start working on the first one. Now, if, say, for instance, your excuse is you're too old, find a support group or a financial coach or a mentor that can help hold you accountable, help you create a plan, and then hold you accountable to implementing it. Such an important step. All right, let's look at a couple tips to build wealth. Just begin where you are and treat it like a game. When it's fun, you want to do it. Create a plan and then execute it. Start investing and saving each month or even each day. Even a small amount is going to help. I began, as I shared, investing $25 a month. And I'm convinced that's why I'm where I am today. That discipline that I learned early on. And even now, where I've so far exceeded my net worth goal and even investment goal, I still, in a lot of ways, act like I did when I didn't have a lot of money. I make some decisions, like some things that I do that I want to do. And I just bought this Tiffany's dinner ring. It's a sapphire with diamonds because I have a tanzanite that's got diamonds, and you're not supposed to wear that all the time. And it's gotten damaged because I wear it too much. And so now I have both of them. And I was like, I would have never done that, except my husband is so good. He's like, just get it. But now I have 2 different blue rings that I can wear when I want to. But the key is that when you make the choices on a daily basis of being aware of your money, you can do things like that. And it's not going to have any impact on our lifestyle or on our retirement or anything like that. And that's the power. You want to become knowledgeable in personal finance, money management, and the stock market, to name a few. You want to identify things like, will you be buying a house for you or your kids or another house? Or are you going to be buying a home in a new area? Maybe you're going to move. Determine what you want your retirement to look like. What does a fulfilled, secure retirement look like to you? Write out your goals in I am or I active verb and then post them where you can see them. I am financially free. I live a secure retirement. I save X amount each month with ease. Less is more. Simplify your life. Junk is not going to bring you happiness. In fact, when I go into places that have a lot of junk, I start feeling like I'm getting claustrophobic. And one of the things I just said, we're building this home, just a crazy home. But I said, I'm not even planning on furnishing it until we get into it. And I can just kind of feel it and determine like what I want. Obviously, we'll have some furniture, but I want to just experience it. And I don't want to have a lot of stuff. I mean, it's going to be fairly modern because, it's got panoramic views of all the mountains in Phoenix. So I want to take advantage of that, but I want it to feel warm, but I don't want to feel like I've got a bunch of junk. I want people to come in and go, she's a minimalist, which I wish I was, but I'm not as far along as I'd like to be. And then last, but most certainly not least, you got to hire a professional. Find a financial person who can help you. If you need somebody with money mindset, more of a financial coach or a money coach. If you need somebody regarding investment planning, more of an investment advisor or a financial advisor who is licensed or registered. So there you have it. Thank you so much for joining me for Money Myths That Keep You Broke. I'm Annette Ba'u. All international copyrights are reserved. If you love the content of this podcast, please follow and subscribe to our channel so you get notified of episodes, and also give us a 5-star review and share a comment. We really appreciate it. Congratulations on taking another step to create a financially free life you love. If you're not sure about your financial future or that it's in order, or you are ready to stop worrying about money or possibly the fear of becoming a bag lady, ending up broke in retirement, or you simply are ready to know your financial house is in order so that you can have a bright financial future, please go to themillionaireinsider.com/NSF. And that doesn't stand for non-sufficient funds. It stands for next step finance. It's the next best step of what you need to do so you can avoid an NSF notice in your future. Again, themillionaireinsider.com/NSF. The number of women who were not broke or poor while working or married is staggering. The entire mission of the Wealth Inside and Out podcast is to ensure you have the information for you, your family, your friends, anyone who's willing to listen to it and apply it so that you can create a financially free life you love. Again, themillionaireinsider.com/NSF. Until our next episode, take one action that will help you create a financially free life you love. I'm Annette Ba'u, your host. All international copyrights are reserved. Bye for now.